What if I told you a 4x4 worth less than your phone bill just destroyed a $100,000 Range Rover? No modifications, no special tires, just a cheap, forgotten machine doing what expensive SUVs only pretend to do. Price has almost nothing to do with capability. And today we are proving it. 10 cheap 4x4s that humiliated the most expensive off-roaders. Stay till number 1. It will shock you. Let's get into it. Number 10. Suzuki Samurai. Let's start with a 4x4 that was publicly humiliated, and then got its revenge on every single person who laughed at it. In 1988, Consumer Reports magazine gave the Suzuki Samurai a rare, not acceptable rating, claiming it had a dangerous tendency to roll over during emergency maneuvers. The story exploded. Headlines ran worldwide. Sales collapsed almost overnight, from over 80,000 units a year down to under 2,000. Dealers could not move them. People openly mocked this little 4x4 on the road. The truth was more complicated. Suzuki had an internal memo from 1985 acknowledging the narrow wheelbase could cause rollovers, similar to the Jeep of the same era. Consumer Reports modified their standard test course to trigger the rollover, which the NHTSA later criticized for driver variation. Suzuki sued Consumer Reports in 1996, and the case was eventually settled out of court with neither side admitting wrongdoing. The reality, as government studies later confirmed, was that the Samurai's real-world rollover performance was within the normal range for similar vehicles of that era. But here's what nobody talks about. While lawyers argued in courtrooms, off-road enthusiasts were quietly buying every Samurai they could find. Because out on the trails, this machine was an absolute weapon. It runs a proper part-time four-wheel drive system with a genuine low-range transfer case. It weighs almost nothing compared to modern SUVs. That lightweight build is one of its greatest strengths. Less weight means less ground pressure on soft terrain, better flotation in mud, and easier recovery when things go wrong. Its short wheelbase allows it to navigate tight, rocky trails that a Land Rover Defender with its longer body simply cannot physically fit through. Off-road clubs around the world began recognizing what journalists had missed entirely. The Samurai started winning trail competitions. It built a passionate, loyal following that exists to this day. The machine that was mocked became a legend. Today you can buy a clean Suzuki Samurai for a tiny fraction of what a new SUV costs, and it will take you places that a $75,000 luxury 4x4 genuinely cannot follow. Number 9. Isuzu Trooper. Most people outside the dedicated off-road community have completely forgotten the Isuzu Trooper existed. That is entirely their loss and a reflection of how unfair automotive history can be to machines that simply got on with the job without seeking attention. This 4x4 ran for over 2 full decades, from 1981 all the way to 2002, and during that entire time it built a quiet, rock-solid reputation for one thing above everything else. It would not die. You could not kill it. It came with a proper body-on-frame chassis, a genuine low-range four-wheel drive transfer case, and mechanical system so straightforward that a competent mechanic anywhere in the world could diagnose and fix problems with basic tools and no specialist equipment. In markets across Africa, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and South America, the Trooper became the working 4x4 of choice for people who needed something that would genuinely perform in demanding conditions without requiring expensive dealer servicing. Aid organizations use them, farmers use them, forestry workers use them. These are not people who buy machines based on marketing. They buy based on what actually works when everything depends on it. The later generations fitted with the 3.2-liter V6 diesel engine were particularly impressive performers, delivering strong low-end torque, real towing capability, and an ability to cruise at highway speeds all day without drama. What makes the Trooper truly belong on this list is a simple fact. It routinely outlasted rivals that cost significantly more. While more expensive SUVs needed costly electronic repairs and complex suspension work, this machine kept running, kept working, kept going. You can find one today for very little money, and if it has been looked after, it will reward you with years of dependable, capable service. Quietly dependable, quietly capable. One of the most underrated 4x4s ever built. Number 8. Suzuki Vitara Old Gen. The original Suzuki Vitara deserves a far more recognition than it receives and represents one of the best value propositions in the entire used 4x4 market today. When it launched in 1988, it was genuinely ahead of its time. A compact 4x4 that brought real off-road hardware to buyers who could not afford the premium prices of Land Rovers and Toyota Land Cruisers. It had a proper part-time four-wheel drive system, a low-range transfer case, and a lightweight construction philosophy that gave it capabilities its price tag had absolutely no right to deliver. This machine's single greatest off-road weapon is its weight, or more accurately, the lack of it. At around 1,000 kilograms, the original Vitara is dramatically lighter than virtually every modern SUV competing in the same space today. That weight saving translates directly into real-world off-road advantage. Less mass means lower ground pressure, which means better flotation on soft mud and wet grass. Less mass means the machine is easier to extract if it does get stuck. Less mass means the engine has more relative power to push through difficult terrain. Physics works in the Vitara's favor in ways that no amount of expensive electronic traction control can fully compensate for. Owners and off-road enthusiasts have repeatedly demonstrated what standard, completely unmodified original Vitaras can achieve on serious trails, and the results consistently surprise people who have spent 10 times as much on their machine. The short wheelbase 3-door version became particularly celebrated among off-road club members for its ability to pick through tight, technical rocky terrain with a precision that larger 4x4s simply cannot match. Today, the original Vitara sells for almost nothing on the used market. The off-road ability it was born with has not gone anywhere. Take it off-road and watch the faces of people who spent a fortune on their crossover. Number 7. Jeep Cherokee XJ. The Jeep Cherokee XJ is not merely one of the best budget 4x4s ever built. Many of the most respected voices in the off-road world argue, with very strong justification, that the XJ is one of the finest off-road machines ever produced, regardless of price, regardless of era, regardless of competition. That is a remarkable claim for a 4x4 you can buy today for very little money. The XJ introduced unibody construction to the SUV segment. When it launched in 1984, a decision that gave it structural advantages over traditional body-on-frame rivals, lower center of gravity, greater rigidity, and a more precise, dynamic character on and off-road. It retained solid axles front and rear, a critical off-road advantage because solid axle setups deliver superior articulation and are dramatically more durable and easier to repair than complex independent suspension arrangements. When one wheel drops into a hole, the opposite wheel rises to maintain contact with the ground in a way that independent suspension struggles to match. On serious trails, this translates into traction that more expensive, more technologically sophisticated machines cannot replicate. The 4.0-liter inline-six engine that powered the majority of XJs built between 1987 and 2001 is widely and consistently regarded as one of the most reliable engines ever installed in any 4x4. It produces strong, usable torque across a wide rev range. It is resistant to overheating, and properly maintained examples have covered enormous mileages without major mechanical issues. The XJ competed directly against the Range Rover, the Toyota Land Cruiser 80 Series, and other genuinely premium 4x4s of its generation, and matched or exceeded their off-road performance at a price that was meaningfully lower. Today, the off-road community has never forgotten what this machine is. The rest of the world is only now beginning to catch up. Number 6. Mitsubishi Pajero Generation 2. 12 Dakar Rally victories. Stop and let that number sink in properly. The Dakar Rally is widely recognized as the most demanding motorsport event on the planet. Thousands of kilometers across brutal desert terrain, dunes, rocky mountain passes, and virtually every off-road challenge imaginable. The Mitsubishi Pajero won it 12 times between 1985 and 2007. A Guinness World Record that still stands today. No other machine in the history of that race has dominated it so completely. That is not marketing. That is documented, verified fact. The Pajero dynasty began with the first generation, but it was the second generation, produced between 1991 and 1999, that became the heart of that dominance. Mitsubishi equipped it with their Super Select 4WD transmission system, giving drivers the ability to select two-wheel drive for normal road use,
part-time 4WD high range for mixed surfaces, full-time 4WD with an open center differential, and
full-time four-wheel drive with a locked center differential for the most extreme conditions. This level of driver control was exceptional for its era and remains impressive today. Many modern SUVs costing far more do not offer the same degree of manual drive train control. The chassis was strong and well-engineered. The suspension was capable and durable. The diesel engines proved dependable and economical. When the Gen 2 Pajero was new, it competed directly against the Range Rover and Land Cruiser 80 series as a genuine premium 4x4. Today, on the used market, it sells for a fraction of what those legendary rivals command. The engineering has not changed, the capability has not diminished. A well-maintained second-generation Pajero on a challenging trail will still embarrass expensive modern SUVs being driven by people who paid 40 times as much. 12 Dakar wins do not expire. Number 5. UAZ Hunter. Nothing on this entire list is more surprising, more shocking, or more entertaining than the UAZ Hunter. Absolutely nothing. This is a machine that most people in Western markets have never heard of. That ignorance is one of the most expensive mistakes a serious off-road buyer can make. The UAZ Hunter is produced by the Ulyanovsk automobile plant in Russia, a manufacturing facility with a history stretching back to the Second World War when it was established specifically to produce military machines for the Soviet armed forces. The Hunter is not a modern interpretation of military toughness dressed up in civilian clothing. It is the direct mechanical descendant of 4x4s that were engineered to operate in Siberian winters at minus 40 degrees, to cross roadless terrain thousands of kilometers from the nearest service facility, and to keep functioning under conditions that would completely disable most modern vehicles. That heritage is not a marketing story. It is built into every single component. This beast runs solid axles front and rear. It has a proper low-range transfer case. Ground clearance is substantial, more than enough for serious off-road work. The suspension is simple, long travel, and extraordinarily durable. The entire machine is built around a philosophy of mechanical simplicity that means repairs can be carried out with basic tools, basic knowledge, and parts that are available almost everywhere across Asia, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe. There are no complex electronic management systems to fail in extreme temperatures. No fragile sensors, no software that needs updating. Just tough, proven, time-tested hardware that functions. In independent off-road tests, the UAZ Hunter has gone head-to-head with Land Rover Defenders and Toyota Land Cruisers on challenging terrain, and performed with absolute credibility. It cost a fraction of either rival. In Russia and across Central Asia, this machine is used daily for exactly the work that expensive Western 4x4s spend their entire lives being marketed for, but rarely actually doing. Military DNA, proven in conditions that would terrify most modern SUVs. Available for less money than a second-hand family hatchback. The UAZ Hunter is the biggest surprise on this list and one of the best-kept secrets in the off-road world. Number 4. Toyota Land Cruiser 70 Series. Toyota has been building the Land Cruiser 70 Series since 1984. That is over 4 decades of continuous production. Think about what that means. In an automotive industry that discontinues models every 7 or 8 years in pursuit of the next trend, Toyota has kept building the same fundamental 4x4 for more than 40 years. The reason is devastatingly simple. Nothing has come along that does the job better. The 70 Series was designed from its very first day as a working machine for the most unforgiving environments on Earth. The Australian outback, where temperatures exceed 50 degrees and the nearest help is hundreds of kilometers away. The African bush, where roads are a distant memory and terrain changes without warning. The Middle Eastern desert, where sand swallows poorly prepared 4x4s without hesitation. The South American jungle, where humidity and mud test everything to its absolute limits. Toyota built this beast to survive all of it repeatedly without complaint, a body-on-frame chassis engineered for punishment, solid axles delivering maximum durability and off-road articulation, Toyota's legendary powertrain reliability, particularly the diesel variants that have become bywords for longevity across every working environment on Earth. Aid organizations operating in conflict zones trust this machine with human lives. Mining companies in remote locations depend on it because downtime is not an option. Military and government fleets across dozens of countries have standardized on it for exactly the same reasons. On the used market, older 70 series machines can be found at prices that represent extraordinary value for what you are getting. A 4x4 with a 4-decade track record of performing in conditions that would destroy most of its competitors. When a modern luxury SUV with air suspension, 22-inch alloy wheels, and a touchscreen infotainment system pulls up next to a 70 series on a serious off-road trail, the result is not a competition, it is an education. Number 3. Suzuki Jimny. The Suzuki Jimny may be the greatest overachiever in the entire history of the automobile. That is not an exaggeration. It is tiny, it is basic, it is modest in virtually every specification that automotive journalists normally use to assess a 4x4, and this little beast will follow a Land Rover Defender anywhere on Earth. Anywhere. Without hesitation. The third-generation Jimny, produced from 1998 to 2018, achieved something that most automotive engineers would tell you should be impossible. It delivered genuine, credible, competitive off-road capability at a budget price point through sheer brilliance of fundamental engineering. Despite its small exterior dimensions, it carries a proper ladder frame chassis underneath, the same basic structural foundation used by serious off-road machines around the world. It runs a part-time four-wheel drive system with a dedicated low-range transfer case. 3-link rigid axle suspension, front and rear, gives it articulation, characteristics that most 4x4s costing 5 times as much simply cannot match. The Jimny's size is its secret weapon off-road, and it took the automotive world a surprisingly long time to understand this fully. A short wheelbase means better approach, breakover, and departure angles. The measurements that determine whether a 4x4 can climb over obstacles without grounding out. Low weight means minimal ground pressure on soft terrain and easy recovery when needed. Narrow dimensions allow it through gaps and between trees that wider machines have to stop and turn around at. In tight, technical, rocky terrain, this little beast does not just keep up with expensive rivals. It often leads. Professional automotive journalists have conducted back-to-back off-road comparisons between the Jimny and machines, costing 3, 4, and 5 times as much. The results have repeatedly shocked commentators and delighted Jimny owners. The current 4th generation, launched in 2018, brought improved capability to the already impressive formula. Range Rover drivers have sat and watched this tiny 4x4 crawl past them on trails and had no explanation for it. The Jimny is cheap. The Jimny is genuinely, embarrassingly, wonderfully capable. Number 2. Nissan Patrol Y60. In the Middle East, across North and Sub-Saharan Africa, and throughout Australia, the Nissan Patrol Y60 occupies a place in automotive culture that goes far beyond mere respect. It is revered, spoken about with the kind of quiet certainty that only comes from decades of real-world experience in demanding conditions. This is not a machine that built its reputation through marketing campaigns or carefully staged promotional videos. It built its reputation the hard way, by working constantly in conditions that break lesser 4x4s and refusing to stop. The Y60 ran from 1987 to 1997 and was available with a range of engines across different markets. The 4.2-liter TD42 diesel became the stuff of legend in working environments across the developing world. Properly maintained examples of this engine regularly achieve 400,000 kilometers and beyond, figures that modern turbocharged diesel engines with their complex emission systems and expensive components rarely approach. In regions where reliable transport genuinely matters for survival, where the nearest workshop is a full day's drive away, this machine's mechanical durability became its most valuable quality. Off-road, the Y60 is not just capable, morverhu, it is formidable. Solid axles front and rear, substantial ground clearance, a proven low-range four-wheel drive system, the kind of mechanical toughness that allows drivers to push hard without fear of consequences. In desert conditions, especially in the deep sand and unpredictable terrain of the Sahara and the Arabian Peninsula, this beast developed a reputation for going places and surviving conditions that stopped more expensive rivals completely. Toyota Land Cruiser owners, who are not easily impressed, acknowledge the Patrol's capability. In head-to-head comparison, the Y60 consistently outperforms expectations and overachieves against 4x4s that commanded significantly higher prices when new. today, it can be found for very reasonable money. Its legend remains fully intact. Number 1. Lada Niva. Here it is, the machine that beat a Range Rover. The 4x4 that spent over a decade in Antarctica. The beast that reached the Mount Everest base camp at 5,200 meters in 1998 and conquered terrain that machines costing 50 times as much have turned back from. Like the Lada Niva, in production continuously since 1977, nearly 5 decades without stopping, and available today for less money than almost any other 4x4 on the planet. When the Niva was unveiled in 1977, it represented a genuine engineering achievement that surprised the entire automotive world. Soviet engineers at Avtovaz had created something that established Western manufacturers had not yet delivered: a compact, affordable 4x4 with permanent four-wheel drive and a locking center differential. Designed from the ground up as a true off-road machine rather than a road vehicle with part-time four-wheel drive bolted on as an afterthought. While British, German, and Japanese manufacturers were still selling part-time four-wheel drive, systems that required the driver to stop and manually engage, the Niva was born with full-time all-wheel drive as standard, all four wheels pulling, all the time, without any action required from the driver. The locking center differential gives Niva drivers an additional level of control in extreme conditions. When terrain becomes severe enough that even permanent four-wheel drive needs assistance, the driver can lock the center differential and maximize traction across all four wheels simultaneously. This combination of permanent four-wheel drive and a lockable center differential on a machine weighing approximately 1,150 kilograms creates off-road physics that expensive modern SUVs with all their electronic systems genuinely struggle to replicate. The Niva's ground clearance is generous relative to its size. Its approach and departure angles are excellent. Its short wheelbase makes it remarkably maneuverable in tight terrain. Its lightweight gives it flotation on soft ground that heavier rivals simply cannot match regardless of their traction systems. And its mechanical simplicity means that when something does eventually need attention, which takes a very long time, it can be fixed by any competent mechanic anywhere in the world using affordable, widely available parts. This legendary machine has been tested formally and informally against Range Rovers, Land Rover Defenders, Toyota Land Cruisers, and Nissan Patrols on off-road terrain. The results have consistently defied the expectations of everyone watching. The Niva was used by the Soviet Antarctic expedition and became the first wheeled vehicle to spend more than 10 years on that frozen continent, operating at temperatures as low as minus 54 degrees Celsius. It reached the North Pole in 1998. It climbed to the Mount Everest base camp at 5,200 meters. A machine that costs almost nothing has genuinely done the things that 4x4s worth $100,000 are sold by showing images of doing. No fake claim, no exaggeration. No marketing spin. The Lada Niva is the greatest off-road bargain in the history of the automobile, and that is why, without any question, it is number 1 on this list. So there you have it. 10 cheap 4x4s that proved money does not buy capability. From the mocked Suzuki Samurai to the unstoppable Lada Niva, these machines humiliated vehicles that cost 10, 20, sometimes 50 times as much. The lesson is simple. Off-road ability comes from engineering, not price tags. If you own any of these, you should be proud. And if you are thinking about buying a serious 4x4, now you know where to start. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe because we have a lot more where this came from. See you in the next one.